memories do you have of eating toad in the hole?
I don't know if we can film that one. Hold on. No. I can't tell you about that one. Hello, my name's Kate and this is The Little Library Kitchen. Today I am cooking Toad in the Hole from The Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4 by Sue Townsend. I read Adrian Mole for the first time when I was a teenager and completely loved it. I thought it perfectly encapsulated the sort of fury and boredom and like pettiness of being a teenager. I was very aware of how petty I was when I was a teenager. I was still very petty, but very aware that it's entirely dull to be that petty. I think Adrian Mole is such a perfectly realised character. I think he is so many of us at that age where everything is kind of a bit of a mess and your family isn't exactly as you want them to be, and your friends at school and the people you fancy, and all of that is just a bit difficult and a bit rubbish. And I think that capturing all of that in his diary was the absolute perfect way to write it, and I think it's the best of its form. So Toad in the Hole is it's a school dinner, and it's a really basic school dinner. It is essentially sausages in pancake batter that you put in the oven and let puff up, and then have with red onion gravy, which is very delicious. The Toad in the Hole in Adrian Mole is the one that lands Nigel in detention because he yells at the lunch lady that it's all bleeding hole and no toad, which I love. The idea of all bleeding hole and no toad is essentially a really sad dish, because what I'm picturing is somebody at school having a plate with like half a sad little sausage and loads of like batter. That said, the kids that I used to nanny for, that would be their preferred way of eating this. They'd just want more and more batter and less of the sausage. They were really keen on the batter. It's super simple to cook. It's essentially frying sausages and then making a pancake batter, pouring the pancake batter over the top of the sausages, throwing the whole thing in the oven. If I'm doing it for grown-ups instead of kids, I like to put rosemary and thyme through it because that's a really lovely thing that flavours it a bit differently, makes it really lovely, but it's incredibly easy to do. It also looks really cool and impressive when you bring it out and it's this enormous, huge pudding. And serving it with gravy is the perfect thing to do. A red onion gravy is really delicious with it, sort of frying off red onions and then a bit of beef stock in at the end. I really unashamedly love Toad in the Hole. It is like definition beige food, and one night we had my boss had a friend of hers who's a chef come round for dinner, and it was quite last minute, and she was like, is there anything we've got in the house that we can make? And I said, yeah, and I made Toad in the Hole, and then had this crisis when it was in the oven where I was like, I'm feeding an actual chef Toad in the Hole, and it's like, it's the most basic food in the world, but he really loved it. Although it's the sort of thing that stops looking beautiful after a couple of minutes out of the oven. So you kind of get it out of the oven and it does start to deflate quite quickly. I still make a really giant version, much bigger than we need, and we'd always eat it for breakfast the next morning with maple syrup, which sounds weird, but essentially what you're eating is pancakes with maple syrup and a bit of sausage. That's a lovely thing.